There lived in one village a poor widow, and she had a son named Lezghin. Lezghin grew up strong, smart, and brave, a real horseman. Here he says to his mother, "It's time for me to take care of you. I'm going to look for a job." The widow baked 3 loaves of bread, put them in a traveling bag, a kurzin, and said, "I have nothing more, son. I can only give you motherly advice. Look for a good person, a loyal friend, and a brother on your journey." "How can I look for him?" asks Lezghin. "Here's how. When you meet a fellow traveler, tell him you're hungry and offer him some bread. If he divides the bread in half, he'll be your good friend. Ask the second one to wait while you go to the neighboring village. If he waits for you, he'll be your faithful friend. And if the third one drags you across the river on his back, call him your brother." Lezghin said goodbye to his mother and set off on his journey. He walks, singing songs. At the crossroads, Lezghin met a young man older than him. They left together, says Lezghin. "The sun is high. It's time for lunch." He untied his kurzin, took out some bread, and shared it with the young man. He ate, then untied his kurzin, began to eat himself, and did not treat Lezghin. Let's move on. Lezghin says, "Wait for me. I'm going to the neighboring village. I'll be back soon." And he hid in the bushes and thinks, "I'll see if he'll wait for me." And the young man waited a little and then went on. Lezghin set out again. He walked, singing songs. At the spring, he met a young man younger than himself. The young man said to Lezghin, "The sun is low. It's time for dinner." He untied his kurzin, and there was only 1 loaf of bread. The young man broke the loaf in half. Lezghin thought, "I met a good friend on my way." They went on. Night fell on them in the mountains. Lezghin saw that his friend was tired. He felt sorry for him and said, "Wait for me, rest, and I'll go to the village, look for a place for us to spend the night." Lezghin walked, turned onto a mountain path, and got lost. He wandered for a long time, couldn't find the village, and went out on the road again. He saw his friend sitting there, waiting. "Thank you. You are a true friend," said Lezghin. The 2 of them went to look for a place to spend the night. The path led them to a deep gorge. Down at the bottom, a mountain stream thunders up above the gorge. A mountain rises. The boys see the entrance to the cave in the mountain. They entered. It was dark, quiet. No one was there. The friends decided to spend the night here. They were just about to light a fire when they heard noise, the neighing of horses. The young men hid behind a ledge in the rock. They saw 40 men enter the cave. These men lit a large fire, sat around it, and began shaking out burqas and hats, carpets and bedspreads, silver and gold from the kurzins. Lezghin's friend says, "Do you know who these people are?" "Robbers." The robbers gathered burqas and hats, carpets, and bedspreads into a pile, and threw them over a ledge in the rock, right at the feet of Lezghin and his friend. And they began to divide the silver and gold among themselves. The robbers grabbed swords and daggers and rushed at each other. Lezghin's friend says, "What to do? We won't get out of here alive." Lezghin gathered a handful of soot from the rock, smeared it on his face, threw a white blanket over his shoulders, picked up his forged sword from the ground, and stepped forward. The robbers were frightened and rushed away. They mounted their horses and rode away. Lezghin chased after them, tripped over a stone, and flew off the cliff into a mountain stream. "Oh, I'm going to die here," Lezghin thinks, and Lezghin's friend tied the blankets together, twisted them into a strong rope, tied one end to a tree, and wrapped the other around his belt. And he threw himself into the raging river. He swam to Alisker, and the two of them climbed a rope to the shore. "You were a good comrade and a loyal friend to me, and now you have become a brother." And the young men swore to each other never to part. They put all the robbers' wealth into their bags and placed them on the horses that remained at the entrance to the cave. Only one horse, a black stallion, refused to be loaded. The young men mounted it and rode back to their native village of Alisker. The day passed, evening came. The brothers named saw a fire burning by the road, and people were sitting around it, their shoes off and their clothes off, warming themselves by the fire. They left the horses in the bushes, and they themselves approached the fire. "Why are you crying, good people? What can I do for you?" The elder answered the young men, "We, the inhabitants of a distant village, led a caravan to a neighboring state to sell raisins and figs, honey and wheat. We received carpets and blankets, gold and silver in exchange for them. Robbers attacked us, took everything, stripped us, and scattered us. That is why we cry. And I mourn my faithful black horse." The named brother of Alisker says to the old man, "Call your horse." The old man did so. The black horse neighed and ran out from behind the bushes. The boy led the loaded horses to the fire and said, "Here, good people, is your property." People rejoiced, untied their ropes, got dressed, and put on their shoes. Alisker says to the named brother, "You did a good job giving everything to the people. We have nothing again." The brother named answered him, "And if I didn't give it, my conscience would torment me." The brothers woke up at dawn and set off. Suddenly, they heard someone galloping after them. It was a long-bearded old man catching up with them on his black horse. "Hey!" he shouts. "Where are you going? We haven't given you your due yet." They were surrounded by people, some spread out before them a carpet, some a blanket, some a rich garment. One gave them a handful of gold, another a handful of silver, and the old man gave them his black horse. Early in the morning, a widow went out to the threshold of her house and saw her son Alisker walking, with an unfamiliar young man next to him. Both were carrying full sacks on their shoulders, and were leading a black horse by the reins. They stopped in front of the widow, and Alisker said, "Thank you for your good advice. I had nothing, and now I have gold and silver, rich clothes, and a horse that is priceless. But the most important thing is that I now have a good comrade, a faithful friend, and a brother." The young man bowed to Alisker's mother and said, "You had one son, and now you will have two sons to take care of you."